See, shake it off.
Yeah.
Saw the fly.
Yeah.
I just look like it. 25, yeah.
59.
Now that one live, so don't dig up your nose in that crap. That one recording right there. You know what I'm saying? You chilling this time.
I'm chilling because we got kept.
Oh, okay. You live.
It's 6 o'clock.
You know, no time.
I don't want to, everybody thinking you're crazy about that. So 3, 2.
That's all good.
Yeah. You can keep your music again. There you go.
Yeah. Right.
Shake it off.
Okay.
Hey man, we're back.
Yeah, we on.
Yeah, let's move for a little bit, man. Yeah, we got a little music
play
in here.
for a while, you know. Set the tone. You like that? Yeah. You like you about to do the snake. You about to do something. Yeah.
We gonna have some fun tonight.
Yeah, you thought you was in the club, didn't you? French Quarter. You remember French Quarter? You was at, what the other ones on, across the street? Smitty's.
Smitty's?
Yeah, it's been so many names, though.
Yeah, that's been a long time ago, man.
Yeah, I had a good time. Oh, yeah, my bad. DJ Mode.
Yeah.
You like that? Oh, yeah.
Happy New Year. Man, we're back. It's the Real Spill Podcast. We're coming to you live from the Spill Cup Studios. This is the Real Spill Podcast. I'm Tally Man.
Yes, I'm your favorite ring, Cold Steel. Yeah, 2024 is here. That's put too many numbers there. I put some extra numbers on there.
No, you said 2024.
You know I got a speech impediment. My bad. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I hope everybody holidays went well. You know, hope everything is this year started off right.
Hope it started off
Hope
right.
you left all that foolishness in 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're gonna stay positive.
Yeah, be motivated.
Yeah.
Everything behind you is behind you. Stop looking back.
You know, a wise man once said, rocket ships don't come with rearview mirrors.
Wow.
They dip. You know what I'm saying?
I
Remember
got
that? You know where I got it from? Okay, yeah. You looked it up.
Okay, yeah.
Wise man said
that one went
way.
way.
What you trying to say is don't look back, boss.
Don't look back.
We move forward in
Yeah.
life. We don't look back.
Yeah.
Look back. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got a little live studio audience.
Got a live studio audience,
They
man,
probably
and
don't
everything.
participate, but they in there, though.
Yeah, they are. Our first episode in 2024,
Yeah.
and it happens to be episode 25.
Yeah.
And man, we're just so happy today that we have a guest.
We do.
We have a professional, a college
scholar.
professor, a scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I
And
feel smaller just sitting next to her.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When she walked in the room, I said,
That's what I'm saying.
she elevated the whole room.
Lights got
When
brighter.
she, like
You
everything.
know what I'm saying? My head started
Like-
vibrating for some reason. Yeah, so yeah, I felt it. I felt the presence.
I wanted to put an apple on her desk.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's dope though. That's old school.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's old
okay,
school.
that's
Yeah.
old school. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead. I interrupt your
You know what they always told me?
What was
They
that?
said even if you're not the smartest in the room,
Yeah.
if you mind and be courteous and everything, it'll take you a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they
I
always
like
say.
it. I like it. I was always told, the smartest in the room, find them and sit next to them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, how is you gonna cheat?
Or sit behind them.
Yeah, you gotta cheat. Yeah, the cheat gotta sit behind. Yeah. Okay.
Man, we still in the celebrate mood, but we're so happy to have Mrs. Latoya Melton with us today.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get her hand clap, Mrs. Latoya
Thank you
Melton.
for having me.
All right.
Yeah,
And
welcome.
we're gonna let Ms. Melton tell us a little bit about herself and who she is and what she stands for.
Don't snitch on yourself now. Just talk about the good stuff.
I will.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Latoya Melton. I am a native of Birmingham, Alabama. I graduated from Inslee High School, Stillman College, the University of Alabama, and I'm currently a doctorate of social work student at the University of Alabama. I have been in social work for 18 years, currently as a social work professor, and I work flexi or part-time with UAB Department of Psychiatric Services as a psychiatric social worker.
Wow.
So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
So you said that you was in a doctoral program, so you're working on your doctorate.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Look at you. All right. Look at the big brain on tour.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So you are an Inslee Yellow Jacket.
I am.
She
Shout out to Enzo, man.
Shout out to Inslee the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
I know they don't tore it down, but yeah, that
Okay,
spirit
still
always
gonna be
there.
in our
That's
heart.
right.
It's
Yellow
always
Jacket.
there.
Yeah. I used to go in there a little bit.
Stillman College. What's the mascot of Stillman?
Tigers.
They Tigers. Okay. So
Okay.
they're Tigers. So she'll sting you, she'll bite you,
Oh, man.
and then it was UAB. I mean, University of Alabama.
Well, both, yeah.
She'll
So she'll set you
she'll
on
step
fire.
on you.
Yeah, and step on you.
She'll
She get
roll
all
tide, and UAB.
Well, I did UAB as a graduate certificate in marriage, couples, and family counseling.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah, we appreciate you.
So
yeah,
you a blazer?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trailblazer. How about that?
Trailblazer. Man, that's good. Yeah.
You like I threw that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah. So,
I did graduate.
so welcome our guest,
Yeah.
Doctor. I'm speaking in faith.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I like
She
that.
gonna
I like
do that
that.
dissertation.
Yeah, I'm gonna refer to you as Dr. LaToya.
That's what I'm gonna meet too, man. I'm just
Dr.
excited
LaToya,
about
yeah.
that. Dr.
Yeah.
LaToya Melton, and she's giving you her resume, a small portion of it. We're so happy to have her. We're talking about today.
Oh yes, episode 25, Shake It Off.
Shake it off.
And what I mean by that is, you know, normally in the new year, a lot of people have resolutions and ideas of what they want to, you know, accomplish in the new year, right? And a lot of times we still dealing with what we dealt with last year, and sometimes we carry that over into the new year. So I wanted to talk about basically shaking off all those past issues, afflictions, the stress, the anxiety, all that stuff you went through last year, and moving into a new year with a positive attitude and just, you know, lightening the load, so to speak, and focusing on what you're going to achieve moving forward, you know, the good things. So
Yeah.
that's what it's called, shake it off. We're trying to shake off all that negative energy that we had last year and leave it there.
Leave it there.
And yeah, and just come into the new year with a new attitude, new mindset, you know. So yeah, that's basically what we're talking about. You can, you know, you like it?
I like it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you know, everybody talking about they want to go to the gym or they gonna travel more or, you know, they gonna pay child support. That's what I said on this year. I'm trying to pay more child support for my 13 kids.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I ain't got 13 kids.
Okay.
You crazy.
Actually, you don't even have one. So
No. Well, I might have that one in Puerto Rico. I told you about that, but I'm still trying to find him.
Okay.
But yeah. Other than that, in America, no, I don't think I got any. But anyway, yeah, you know that's what we're talking about, though.
Yeah.
So you want me to start or you got?
No, my first question
Yeah,
is
go ahead. Sure.
Dr.
LaToya.
Melton.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Melton.
But Dr. Melton
Yeah, I'm
is,
Yeah.
and from our flyer, we're talking about at the end product is stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is your definition of stress?
Oh, so stress, I would say, is a reaction
Mm-hmm.
to situations that may bring on fear,
Oh yeah.
worry.
Okay.
Stress is normal,
Right.
Okay.
I would say, and it can come from things that's positive.
Okay.
And so I think once we understand where stress comes from
Mm-hmm.
and how to handle it, then I think that will reduce some of the worry and
Right.
the anxieties that people have. So
Okay.
it's a reaction.
It's a reaction.
I like
So what, to follow on, what causes the reaction?
it. Yeah.
So we'll use school for an example.
Okay.
So school is something positive. If you
Right.
want to advance, you have to sometimes further your education.
Right.
But although that's something positive, when you think about assignments, when you think about how you're going to balance this coursework,
Right.
I'll even use me for an example. Being in a doctorate program, having 3 kids at home, working full-time, working part-time,
Yes.
although it's something positive,
Right.
there's stress, that reaction to trying to do
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
positive thing because I'm trying to balance my children, I'm trying to balance marriage, I'm trying to balance my professional life. So that brings on stress.
That brings on stress. I'm a college student also. I'm in theology school. And
You're proud of you.
yeah, man, I am, man. I'm a graduate too. Boy,
Yeah,
I
you
tell
gonna
you.
do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
And I found after the last semester,
Uh-huh.
you know, I saw how, you know, you see these kids in the summertime, you know,
Right.
they want to head to Florida, they want to head on vacation.
Right.
I wanted to head to Florida just because
No,
I had
you
finished.
wanted to do it too?
Yeah, man, I
Oh,
wanted to go,
okay.
man, because the stress of going through taking tests and
Oh, yeah.
studying,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, it's possible for anybody. And I don't mind to tell you, I'm 63, but you know, at 63, sometimes I say I should have done this when I was 23.
Yeah.
When I had the opportunity, but now, and the stress level sometimes, trying to remember things,
Oh,
and trying
yeah.
to separate things.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that, you know, a positive thing can bring stress.
Mm-hmm.
So since this positive thing that we're doing, and we're not talking about stress over something that's not positive.
Mm-hmm.
We talking about positive things, you know, on your job,
Right.
at the house,
Oh,
with the
yeah.
family,
Oh yeah.
you know, in your community,
Right.
you know, or when you're in school,
Right.
you know. And since stress can come, how do we deal with that
Mm.
when it does come?
So I would definitely say one of the things, and our live audience in the back
Yes.
know that I always talk about balance.
Balance.
Okay.
I myself have gone through therapy, and one of the things that I have learned is boundaries,
Right.
and that is something that most of us are really poor at.
Okay. Okay.
Is setting boundaries for ourselves, for our
Right.
families, boundaries at work. I think that we are so used to always going, always doing. Somehow, I'll say society says that if you are not busy or doing something, we talked about yesterday, chasing the bag, if you're not doing something at all
Right.
times, then somehow you're not being productive, you're being lazy, or
Right,
you're not
right.
doing enough. But you have to have some type of balance.
Gotta
You
have
have to take care of yourself. So without that,
Yes.
then again, you're not really relieving any of the stress.
Right. You just adding on to
You
it.
just
You never
add
taking a
to
break.
it, it becomes a pile,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
You're
And as I
compounding.
flower, you compounding it.
Mhm.
See, I told you she's smart.
Yeah. No, yeah. I
Yes,
believe you. I believe you.
And
Yeah.
you know, so it's putting something on top of something.
Right.
And you're trying to push this up the hill.
Oh yeah. Come uphill battle.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
you said.
like I
Yeah.
said,
Hey,
yeah.
go ahead, man. You got a question
Oh,
for
okay.
Dr. Melton.
I was blown away, man. I was still trying to just think
Yeah.
about the boundaries she had just said,
Yeah.
because I do want to go back to that. But
Okay.
well, I mean, you already talked about stress. I was gonna say, so how important to you do you think like mental health is, or not only mental health but physical, even spiritual? You know, depending on if you know you have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's important? And what's some of the things you can do to protect your mental health, your spirituality? You know what I'm saying? When you stressed
that's a
out,
good
going,
question.
you know, dealing with stuff in the world day to day.
Yeah.
Great question, and I have notes.
Okay.
Man,
So,
we were not prepared.
We would.
Yeah.
we gotta give you a
so I guess like one of the things when you talked about mental health, one of the things that I kind of just searched for, and I'm always searching for information and really trying to make that information where it's understandable for anyone.
Uh-huh.
And so when you think about mental health, there's a number of risk factors and triggers when it comes to our mental health.
Right.
So I'm just gonna name them all because
Okay.
I think you all have hit on them. So when it
Okay.
comes to mental health, mental diagnoses or illnesses, it can be a risk factor is genetics,
Okay.
our environment, childhood trauma, stressful events,
Oh yeah.
negative thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy habits,
Mm-hmm.
and that is specific like sleep and eating habits, drugs and alcohol, and brain chemistry. So all of these things affect or can be triggers for our mental health. So when you think about or when you ask how important are those things, they're very important because
Right.
again, not addressing any of these things will only make it worse
Make it
over
worse.
time.
Okay.
Right.
And so working in the ER, I see a number of people that come in for multiple reasons. We'll talk about like homelessness, substance use, and all of those
Right,
things.
right.
But they do kind of, one can lead to another.
Okay.
I was thinking about, as I was preparing for today, one of the things that I am working on is, okay, so I'm going to use drinking, right?
Okay.
So usually, you know, we have a wind down Wednesday. If you want to relax, well, it's one thing to use wine as a way to relax, or if you're making your cocktail, but
Right.
Yes.
if it's going to be your response to everything, every time there's a hard day, then that
It's like
behavior,
dependent,
right,
Yeah.
it can change, but and it can change quickly, sometimes without you even realizing it.
that. Okay. Wow.
And so, which could turn into increased use, which could turn into, that's just like even if you have someone that has an injury, and if you all know about sports,
Right.
you may be prescribed an opioid.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, you want to return back to whatever that activity is.
Right.
So you continue to take this medicine or this drug to prevent
Right.
risk of pain.
Exactly.
Well, what happens? And so it's important for us to know ourselves, to know our bodies, which goes back to education and awareness and understanding what mental health is,
Right.
how are we triggered, And then how do we even identify those triggers? And then from there, what resources are available?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we don't even know what resources are out there. And then just to be honest, sometimes there's a lack of resources. There are a number of people who don't have insurance or access to care, and so now you still have these unaddressed issues.
So what you say, I got two questions from that. The first thing you mentioned was genetics. So are you saying that sometimes mental health can be a hereditary thing?
It can definitely be. It's something that we ask. Okay. So if I have a patient that came in, we ask, you know, about maternal, paternal, who all has been diagnosed, or is there a history of mental health in your family? And so now I am not a medical or psychiatrist, but these are things that we do ask that the psychiatrist does look at to see, like, genetically, how has this affected that person.
And my second follow-on is, so are you saying that my relaxation techniques can become habit forming that could lead me to addiction?
It could. It could if you're not, again, increase use. Increase use. Like, I mean.
Yeah, because if I'm drinking one glass of wine to relax, and then that glass of wine, I become immune to that. So now I'm having 2 glasses of wine.
And it just, like, again, sometimes we will say, like, to reduce stress, you know, sit back, have a drink, have a glass of wine or whatnot. But even recreational, you know, sometimes people think, like, this is social, and I've known people, and not just like alcohol, but who have said, like, I've been with friends and I tried whatever it was I tried, and then I noticed after that setting, I continue to use more. And I'm just gonna be honest, we live in a day and time where everybody, whether it's smoke or edible, it's available, and more and more, and people use it for different reasons. So I don't want to come off judgmental, but again, is there an increased use, and then what's the reason behind? Like, are you trying to, if you talk with someone that has been in addiction, most times they're using to either not deal or avoid something. You know.
Say that again, because that's important right there.
When you,
I wish I had a bone.
Most times when it comes to use, a person is avoiding or it's an issue that they don't want to deal with, or they're trying to avoid. So the best way to avoid is to use that substance
to put them away from reality. Because it's hard. I would tell anyone, and I say this a lot, it is easier. Well, people think it's easy. Well, it's easier to not deal than deal. To deal with it.
Because if you think about going to therapy or dealing with whatever trauma, whatever stressor, it's easy to try to act like it's not there, because you have to open up the hurt. You have to address it. You have to acknowledge
take the bandages
that
off.
It's a thing, right?
And
so sometimes that's just too heavy for people. And so instead of dealing with it, we just kind of navigate through life acting as if it's not there.
It's no problem.
Yep.
And it can become so normal to everybody else that they'll just say, you know, that's just him.
Right. You know how you do. You gotta have a drink or two.
You know, and he can't hold his liquor. You know, you already know he's gonna get drunk. You know. You know.
He talking about me.
Oh.
No.
No, it's okay though. It's okay.
But you said something else interesting, and that so my generation is a couple generations past y'all, and I grew up, where
moonshine.
No.
Oh, my bad. Okay, go
well,
ahead.
That was available too. I had some uncles that used to make it.
Yeah, shout out,
but they used to tell me, "Don't go down there, boy." But anyway, but I grew up in an era where the reverence or the fear of God was more so prevalent than it is.
Oh yeah, no.
So when it came to the edibles and the smoke and everything, we was, that stuff gonna kill you.
Right.
So we stayed away from it. But I know your generation, and now this generation, it's almost acceptable.
Oh, they hear it first, bro.
Yeah. and I mean among everybody, and everything. And I actually have a book, The Christian and the Cannabis. You know,
Who wrote that? Snoop wrote it?
Nah, man.
No. Okay.
It was
Okay.
actually written by a doctor and everything. But,
Yeah.
you know, but my thing is that these vices that we have to help us cope, you know, and it could be eating.
I was just thinking about like, because I don't want to put it all on substance and alcohol. Too much of anything is not good. So moderation is best. So you have people that are emotional eaters.
Right.
So if they are dealing with stress, they may not necessarily be drinking or doing drugs, but it could just be eating.
Right.
And poor eating, I mean, it still does affect our health. It affects how we feel. It affects, weight and things like that, which again goes back to how we feel if we are able to move around, how we may look in our clothes and things like that. And of course, especially with social media, all of the platforms, and I'm on all of them, and so I see some of the things. People are cruel.
Yeah.
And so that does affect how people see themselves, how they view themselves, how they feel about themselves. So, eating, I guess you could say I've delved into also like physical fitness. So I'm a dance fitness instructor as well.
What?
Now, listen, and y'all, I may not look like it. I have gained 30 pounds over the past 2 years, but I'm gonna say that again, life situations.
Right.
I have 2 grandbabies that I'm excited to have, but having those grandbabies, having to help my daughter navigate through life, kind of going back to boundaries and things like that. I kind of put some things off because I want to make sure that she's good.
Right.
And so one of the things that I have learned through fitness is that everything like from depression, stress, kind of like is in our good. So good health is important.
Oh, yeah.
It
So
is.
I have done some research on. Well, I have done a vegan diet where there's no meats, no dairy, pescatarian, and you really can feel a difference in your body.
Okay.
And so even again, going back to education and awareness, with the things that we're putting in, and that's not just food and drink, but that's even the things that we are reading, looking at, listening to, all of those things, it matters.
So, I got 2 questions, and I'm gonna let Cole ask the question. So, it's important. Do you think it's important of what comes into us? And when I say that, not only what goes in our mouth, but what comes in our ears, because you talked about social media, and what comes into our spirit. So is that important as for dealing with stress?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah.
I think in our short conversation yesterday, I talked about how sometimes you do have to pull away from social media.
Right.
Social media, everything is glamorized. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's traveling. Everybody has happy relationships. Everyone's children are perfect. And so, right. So when you look at those things, and I think it's just human nature for us to think that either we're somehow behind, we're not doing enough, and that to me produces these feelings of anxiety and stress because it's like, well, I need my kid to be doing this. Why am I not doing this? And I can speak specifically to my 13-year-old daughter who chose to stay at home. She plays softball. And so we are on some social media platforms just to kind of do some highlights of her games and things like that, but there's a lot of stress that comes along with these travel sports.
I'm sorry to stop you. And I'm gonna tell you, you're looking at the Real Spill podcast. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Here with Taliban,
Cold Steel, and
Dr. Latoya Melton.
Soon to be y'all.
Yeah,
no,
we speaking in fact. We speaking in that's a done thing. Yeah, invite us to the graduation. That's what I'm talking about. We inspired.
Like a TV show.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like a TV. We're gonna speak that into
But
this.
this is what I want to ask her though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because she told us that she's in school. She teaches school. But she's also in school.
And she's a choreographer.
Yeah, I'm
choreographer.
So she school. She's a wife. She's a mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's a grandmother.
Yep.
She's a dance instructor.
Mm-hmm.
She has to grade papers because she got classes
Oh,
that
that's
she
tough.
teach.
That's tough.
She a grandmother.
I don't think he's sweet. You're a vampire, aren't you? You're a vampire.
And so, and I want to break all of these down, but I'm just going to put it in totality.
Ooh.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did, man. It is. Fancy word. Fancy.
How do you deal, because we can assume that you have stresses in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so how do you deal, and I'm interested in, how do you deal with the stress when you in the midst of, y'all getting along, but it don't, mundane or.
It's marriage.
Marriage, yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Marriage, children, class, driving to work and all it is, and somebody cutting you off. How do you de-stress?
Okay. So I'm going to say 2024 is a new beginning for me, a new start.
Okay.
And addressing all of those things.
Okay.
So I will say I am guilty of drinking a lot of wine sometimes to deal with stress, right?
Yeah,
So
It is
one of
not
the
gonna keep
things,
you out of here.
one of my goals,
You got something in there? Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
water.
Yeah, don't, okay.
But one of
Yeah.
my goals, and that's one of the things I love about my career and what I do, is that a lot of my knowledge or things that I have is not what I have learned in books. This is my life.
Okay.
And so I can say that I need balance.
Right.
Okay.
So last semester was my first semester in school, and so one of my goals, or a few of my goals for this year, was to create better boundaries.
Okay.
And when I say, and this is all about how you can manage this stress. And when I say boundaries, is that sometimes it's okay to say no.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we think that we have to continue to go and go and go, and we have to say yes. But it's okay to say no.
Okay
And
to say
even
no.
creating boundaries with your kids.
Okay.
We want
That's
to
a
do
big one.
all of the things, or I feel like I want to do all the things. Anything that they ask me, I want to be able
You want to
to
be able
do.
to provide.
Right.
I want to make it happen.
Right.
But to be honest, if I really want them to be productive adults, they have to hear that there has to be a balance. Sometimes you will be told, no, it's irrational. It's not like you're not going to get a yes to everything that you want to do. You won't always be able to do everything that you want to do. So creating those boundaries.
Right.
Balance for myself is creating time so when are you going to study? When are you going to grade papers?
Right.
When are you going to create time to help with homework? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot, but you really do have to create an agenda or a schedule to do these things.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're
I'm
all
stressing.
over.
You're all over the place.
You're all over the place.
Right.
And so when you don't manage,
Right.
what you end up with is someone that's agitated, aggravated, short temperament, and
Dysfunction.
then exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and so and it just creates unhappiness, which could result into depression.
Right.
And so so there has to be balance. There has to be boundaries. And again, people don't always like boundaries, especially in your family sometimes.
Right.
But you do have to be able to say, like, on this day, if I'm doing this on Tuesday, then no, I can't do that. And so it's really hard, especially if you're a people pleaser.
Right.
Some of us are people pleasers
Yes,
for
we are.
various reasons.
Yeah.
And so, but when you keep saying yes because you want to please people, you end up overworking yourself because you won't say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm a preacher, so I have a preacher mindset.
Okay.
So you gave me 2 B's. I must have balance. I must have boundaries. It's got to be another B because we've been taught to 3 points in a poem.
Well, y'all, you on fire today. What's going on, man?
So what's the third B? If you don't have one, it's okay. But what's the third? So we know we got to have balance. We know we have to set boundaries. And what's another thing that we need to do to live this stress-less life? Because we can't eliminate stress. I guess I need to say how we deal with it, how we overcome it.
It's not a B,
Okay.
and maybe you all can think of, but I will say, I'm gonna go. The girls will hear me say, just lead with love and being positive.
Oh, yeah.
You have to.
That's beauty.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I will share with Reverend Talley, Mr. Talley.
No, my name Don. My mama named me Don.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's my name.
one of the things that I talked about yesterday with Don
Yes.
was just that a spirit of thankfulness, having gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
If you wake up every day only thinking about what you don't have, like how, like that has to suck.
Yeah.
You know, I can think of a ton of things that I want right now.
Right.
But if that's how I start my day every day with what I don't have
Wow, that's
versus
good.
a sense of gratitude,
Yeah.
then I mean, you will be miserable.
Yeah,
put you
You'll
in
be
a bad
miserable.
space.
Put you in
Yeah.
a bad space. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the beauty of sense of gratitude, of just having that,
Oh,
that
that's
gratitude.
L, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that because one thing that the military taught me, and I was in the Navy, and one thing that it taught me, and it made us do it, was to make our bed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the craziest thing. Why I gotta make this bed up?
Mm-hmm.
It was not only teaching me discipline and follow instruction,
Right.
but no matter what my day is like, no matter what I've gone through throughout the day, when I get back to the end of my day, I can look at something positive that I've done.
That's what G.
Yeah.
I like that. See, yeah.
So I live by that now.
Now,
you
see,
know.
I really like it too, but see, I know you put a different spin on it.
Okay.
Yeah, you put a different spin on it. See, I always thought just stay disciplined, like build structure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right.
that's good.
But like you said though, at the end of the day, I like
I can see something positive.
that I've done.
Because I can have a bad day.
Right.
I could have been stressed out, people don't cut in from me in traffic.
Right.
I get to work, my supervisor acting like they crazy,
Right.
and everything. And so all these different things, I got into it with the person right next to me at work, and everything. And sometimes that stress level can keep rising and keep rising and keep rising. And you can say, man, this day was a bum day, I'm pretty sure in marriage or whatever, you walk in the room and the kid walk through the room, they smiling. They go in the kitchen, they come back, they frown. And you're like, what happened to them, man? What they do? And so all of those things are stressful. But when I get back to where I want to rest,
the bed
made up, man. And I put the hospital corners on mine.
Okay, you're a professional.
Yeah, well, I was
So
the
Like
Navy.
the hotel, like the hotel.
Yeah.
My stepdad was in the military, and I literally fold the corners.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at
You
y'all.
have to.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the bed
There's
makers out there.
Yeah, I mean,
You have to
see
fold
that?
the
Yeah.
corners.
It paid off. It paid off then. I mean, you might lose a toe
yeah.
when you get in there, but yeah, it does look good.
My little nephew said that that dad was a military man also, right?
Yeah.
And they said they used to have to stand outside their bedroom in the morning time at attention, and he go in and inspect the room.
Oh dang, he's too hard.
Yes, then he'll come back and tell them if they pass or fail, and then he'll go straighten it up. But the whole
Not so
thing,
much now, but I technically would check the
because that's
You
discipline.
go check the bed?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I heard this. Yeah. Hey.
not so much now. But
Yeah, and you're gonna appreciate it later. Believe me, you will appreciate it. Yeah, they're not. Yeah. But this is the thing. I almost lost my thought, and I think I did lose it. The thing about it is that we have to get back to training our children. We have been raising them, because a lot of times we don't want them to go through what we went through. So we said, well, I ain't gonna force them to do this but that training is what got us the discipline that we needed, the structure that we needed. You right there, that structure. Yeah, so it got us the structure that we need and everything.
Right.
So, Dr. Latoya, so we talked. It's balance, it's boundaries, and it's the beauty of love. Yeah, it's the beauty of love.
That's what you gonna roll with?
Yeah, okay.
You wasn't gonna leave till it came with a third beat.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead.
Come on, ask a question.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I was all caught up in the moment.
Yeah, me too.
Let me ask a good one here. Let's see here. I think you kind of already said this, but let me ask you this. All right. How important is it to not focus on negative things of the past, or just negative things? Period. So I mean, let's say, for example, you do have those bad days, and or you didn't have enough time to study like you wanted to, or do an assignment, or accomplish whatever it is that you wanted to accomplish that day or week, whatever. So what is it that you do, or how do you deal with not finishing those?
Before she answers, can I tag that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, do I need to forget the negative, or how do I incorporate the negative into me moving forward?
Oh man, that's a trick question right there.
So,
That's a trick question.
and let me know if I don't answer questions, y'all.
Oh, ain't no wrong
No,
answer.
you the
Um, I will say that you have to be intentional about being positive. And my oldest daughter, sometimes she'll call me and it may be a situation that she may be having at work. And after I talk her through it, sometimes she's like, dang, mama, I wasn't looking for the positive. But you have to be intentional about being positive, because if not, you go down the rabbit hole. So you have to be able to find a solution. You have to be able to find, because if we let everything irritate us or determine if we're gonna be happy or joyful, then we're gonna always be mad or ticked off about something. So, and it's okay. Like, so I don't want to. Being angry or being sad or being frustrated, those are normal feelings. Those are normal emotions that you can have. But you do have to be intentional about how you're going to view it. It's okay to be in that moment, but you can't stay in it. That's even when it comes to grief or being sad. Those, you don't forget life experiences. You don't forget what someone says to you. You don't forget things that happen to you, but it's how you deal with it afterwards. Especially if you speak specifically to trauma, you don't forget trauma. There's different triggers to trauma. The thing that's important, or I would say is important, in recognizing how are you triggered, and sometimes that's not what you can do on your own. You may need a therapist, you may need a counselor to help you identify those things. For me, which I consider a blessing in the work that I do, I can recognize even when I'm having those negative self-talks myself, and I can recognize those things. But again, you heard me earlier say, I learned something from my therapist. So we don't talk enough, even in our communities, in the world in general, the importance of having a therapist, having a counselor, having someone that's knowledgeable, that can give you the skills and the tools, so when those negative things happen, you know how to work through them. And so I think that's important in addressing that. But again, even if it's something in general, you have to take whatever negative and you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about being happy. Again, there's a lot of things that I want right now. But you know, they may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen next month. And so again, not being grounded in that gratitude or being thankful, then again, you just kind of go down the rabbit hole of, you know, regret, or I wish I would have done this, or I should have done that. But that's not moving you forward. So it's okay. So I think sometimes it's hard to say forget about things. I think depending on the situation, those things will come up, especially again if we're talking about trauma. You don't forget those. You can't unsee, you can't unhear. But how do you manage those things when it comes up?
So in being intentional, does intentional leads to complacency?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And you mean like being like stagnant, or
stagnant, or not moving forward, you know, and like you say, we need to be intentional, you know, in how we feel, and but you don't think that may lead to complexity. What makes us move forward? Because it's one thing to have the information of what we need to do, but what is it that makes us move forward?
So you definitely have to be motivated, and I'm glad you asked me that. Because I was thinking about, again, in preparing for this, is that you can have all the resources, you can have all the tools, but people have a right to self-determination, which means there has to be a part of you yourself that wants. But that's when I go back to, it's easier to not deal than deal. And sometimes we're just
So
not
that's the
dealing.
fight.
So
Yeah.
honestly, that's the fight.
That's the fight.
That's the fight.
Yeah.
In people realizing that as a practitioner, part of what we are taught is that you're the expert of your life.
Right.
Okay.
I can't tell you anything about your life, but what
Right.
I can do is to provide you with tools to help navigate through the things that you have been through.
All right.
Right.
And so, but that will take some self-motivation.
Yeah.
If you have resources and access to a therapist, but you won't go.
Right.
Yeah. It was
So speak on that, because in our community,
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about black folk now.
Yeah.
In our community, there has been such a stigma placed on not only mental health, but seeking help. You know, so just speak on to try to help us break some of these, whatever we have that says that, you know, because you don't hear people using the word anymore, but they say he crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Nah, I still use.
Well,
And I mean, in most people, and for a number of reasons, if we think someone is being silly, if they're funny, if they're,
Right.
you know, if they're entertaining, like, you crazy.
Right.
But I also think in using in that same way, that word also has a lot of stigma. And so, and not that it's intentional, I think part of the barrier of people reaching out or accessing help or looking for help is conversation that you hear. So there's a natural fear of, I heard my mom or I heard my uncle or I heard my cousin laughing and joking about this, so I'm not going to tell anyone that,
Right.
you know,
So
I'm
it's a
feeling
stigma,
this way.
yeah.
So I think how we view mental health and the things that we say about people experiencing mental health issues bring about a fear of people wanting to address or to look for help, because it's how are people going to view me? What are they going to say about me? So I do think that's a barrier to getting help.
Yeah.
And I think the other is just the more that we talk about it, the more that we make it common, the more we speak about it, I think the more familiar, the more comfortable people will begin talking about what they're going through, what they're dealing with. Again, you know, from my own personal, you know, experience, I have dealt and deal with all of that, but it's using the resources that are out there. Unfortunately, there's also another barrier, and that's just the access to care, to health care. You know, all of us don't have insurance benefits, health care, and things like that. And so when you look at costs, if you have to have medication, if you are low income, if you are living in poverty, those things, you know, still affect people's mental health and physical health. So.
And hopefully he doesn't mind me saying this. He can cut it out.
You're talking about me being crazy?
Well, that we both have counselors.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not so much. Well, I mean, technically, I'm right.
Well, you know, I mean, and it could be because we are,
Yeah,
but we do have them.
Yeah.
And I said that to be transparent.
Right.
You know, that we're two black men. I think we're two pretty good black men. You know, and everything. You know, we're not, you know, we good guys.
Yeah.
But we both, from time to time, go sit down and have a counselor. Talk with a counselor, you know, and everything. So
very beneficial. Very beneficial.
So since you know that now, that you but and I find that I'm better with female counselors than I am with male counselors. And I think a lot of times we men, black men, if we get over the stigma, because we need to get over the stigma, if we're dealing with something,
Right.
we need to go sit down with a professional.
Oh yeah.
I ain't talking about with your homeboys.
No.
Yeah, you know.
No. Somebody actually.
Go sit down and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's not just for men, but that's for women, or that's for anybody.
Yeah.
And you said something too. One of the things is you have to find the person that's a good fit.
That's a fit.
I
Yes.
have known people that will try one or two people and it's just like, okay, no, I'm done.
That ain't working.
But unfortunately, you do have to see
Yeah.
and figure out who's a good fit for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Because that's where the work happens.
That's what it
Going back to, it's not your therapist sprinkling this pixie or fairy dust. You have to do the work,
Right.
You have to
which
do the work.
means you have to go in with intent
Right.
to talk about
Mhm.
whatever it is that's
Whatever
bothering
it
you,
is.
whatever
Yes.
life experience, whatever situation. And people don't get to choose what you see as traumatic or what you view
Yes.
as
Right.
traumatic.
Yeah.
Right.
If you see it as traumatic.
Right.
If it shaped or changed you,
Right.
again, brought about stress,
Exactly.
sadness in any way,
Yeah.
that's your story.
Yeah.
That's your experience.
Oh
And
man, you gotta say that again, because there's so many people out there that think that trauma or stress has to be cookie cutter. You know what I'm saying? It's gotta
Well,
fit
yeah.
a certain. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, I done told you before, man, I tell people all the time, you can't help how somebody feels about something.
Right.
So, like, if I go through, you take two people, let's say you and I go through the same situation, car accident.
Right.
All right, we both survived, but you traumatized from
I'm
it.
traumatized.
I'm like, oh man, that
Yeah,
wasn't
when
big
that-
deal. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right?
Exactly.
And I'm looking down on you because you still holding on to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I done moved on from it, so yeah, you can't control how you feel. And I tell people that all the time. You got the right to feel how you want to
You
feel.
gotta feel how you want to feel.
But like she said though, you gotta be willing to go,
You
get
gotta
the
be-
help. And you gotta be receptive too when you go get this therapy. A
Exactly.
lot of people hear it and then it's like, man, I don't believe it about me or this, or I disagree with what you're saying.
Or I feel like it's not working. It's
Right,
not
Yeah,
working.
right,
this ain't working. I'm gonna go
I
ahead.
did it for an hour. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
done.
don't feel better, right? Yeah.
After you went 1 week.
One time, yeah, I feel.
And this hopefully this make y'all laugh, man, because I'm being transparent. So a couple of years ago, my wife passed away, and then I had some other traumas,
Right.
and they were triggered because of that,
Right.
and everything. So, I knew I needed to go sit down with a counselor.
Right.
I knew I did.
Yeah.
I was refusing to do it. Man, I handle this,
Right.
And so some of the worst things that a person can do is to tell somebody, man up.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking to a man, you say, man up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the worst things you can. But anyway, this is supposed to make y'all laugh. And so, so I finally go to the I finally went to the counselor and everything, and I was doing the Steinfeld. You remember when what's his name used to go to the therapist and he'd just sit on the sofa
Yeah.
and wouldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the 30 minutes, an hour, say, all right, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
So I did that about 4 times, right?
Right.
But then I realized, and I felt comfortable with the person. So a relationship was built.
Right.
And then I could sit there and talk about what I was going through.
Right.
And then as the doctor, the trained person, they start showing me ways of how to deal with my stress.
Oh yeah.
And everything. So it's nothing wrong with a black man going to sit down
Right.
and talk to a counselor.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. The bar stool and the bartender is not a counselor.
Well, no, but it can be a start though.
Well,
it can be a start. Yeah, I mean, because like I said, you never know who you're gonna run into, and they can lead you to that point.
well, I agree
So,
with that
yeah.
because really the bartender is trained
I'm
to
about to say, yeah.
be a relationship.
They get you to talking and
They
stuff,
get you
and
to
then
talking.
they throw out that way, hey, I've been going to therapy, or I know somebody
Right.
that you might get
So,
talked to,
yeah.
and then you change their life in
So-
that little moment. So yeah,
So we will say that building a relationship is
Mhm.
important,
right,
and seeking help.
right,
And
oh
everything.
yeah.
Okay, man.
And not feeling like you're alone. Like that's
Mhm.
another
That's
thing.
it,
You
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
we don't
isolation.
have enough conversations. We
Mhm.
do not have enough conversations, and we go through life feeling like we are the only
Mhm.
one going through something when we are not.
Right.
As we say, like these days, life is gonna life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
life
yeah,
is life.
yeah,
It's
it's
No
real
one
life.
is exempt
Nobody.
from life, like any type of crisis.
Mhm.
No one is exempt from life situations, no matter how, whether you're educated, uneducated, whether you have money, don't have money,
Right.
whether it doesn't matter about race. Life will happen to everyone.
Life
and
happens.
so it's important to have that network and know
Yeah.
what's available.
What's available.
Just to
Yeah.
help get you,
Get you
through
from one day to the next.
Yep.
You know.
I do want to know. I know this is off subject a little bit, but I am curious, and maybe she can answer this.
Okay.
Who the therapist go talk to?
Ooh.
A therapist.
No, I mean,
Okay.
but it's just like you ever think about this. Like, I'm just thinking about that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
because what if they going through something and you telling them about what you going through, and they looking like, man, I'm going through stuff too. But so I just be curious about that.
A therapist. Even for my students, who are undergraduate social work students, I share with them all the time that I have had to use a therapist before.
Right.
I've had to go to a therapist.
Mm.
And I encourage them, even if it's through the student counseling services or if they decide to go get a private. I mean, honestly, we were not created in this world. We were not created to do life alone.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be
Ooh, that's
married,
good.
but we're not created to do life alone.
Yeah.
I like that.
So you need to, going back to the building the network and rapport, you have to do that.
You done hit a spear. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want you to freak out. Yeah, he have no reaction.
We cannot. We're not created to do life alone. So it's important.
Yeah.
So communicating is important. And I think that was because you asked me about marriage too.
Right.
Being intentional, validating, really hearing and listening to what your partner has to say. Doing that graduate certificate I did for, and it was just a year, because I guess my passion, really is all things families. Anything that can affect a family, an individual, that's just kind of my thing. And so when it comes to couples, I think what we don't do enough of is communicate, but effective communication. And in order to effectively communicate, you have to be able to listen. You have to have intentional dialogue. You have to be able to validate whether you agree or not. You have to be able to validate your person's feelings or their thoughts about something.
No matter how crazy they sound.
You have to be able to validate. You have to be, even if you don't agree. Just hear them out, because that's their feelings. We said that. That's their feelings. I can't tell you.
You come back. That's a whole other episode.
I can't tell you how to feel, but another thing I feel like that's very important about marriage that have been missed, in my opinion, is the fact that we all bring something.
Baggage.
We all bring it.
Baggage.
We all bring it. And what we're not addressing before marriage is the stuff that we're bringing into these marriages.
That's an episode too.
That's an episode right there.
Somebody write that down.
Yeah. So, if we all bring baggage into a relationship, what is it? What is the common denominator to make us come as one?
You have to deal with your stuff. You got to deal with it.
You got to deal with your stuff.
You have to. And
not dealing with the other person's stuff. I got to deal with your stuff.
Clean your house first.
And be willing to talk with your person about that.
Okay.
Like, one of the things I'll say is, and this is, I'm going on the far end of trauma.
Okay.
If you have a person who have been sexually assaulted or abused, right?
Okay.
And they come into a marriage and a relationship, but that partner does not understand, well, I wonder why sex or intimacy looks different for this person. I'm frustrated here because I'm not understanding what's happening, what's going on. But if you're not sharing with your person
what has happened,
what have happened to you, and you get, so that partner is just like, well,
what's going on?
I don't know.
And then they start thinking there's something wrong with them.
Exactly. And so again, conversation, and then what we have conversation about. We always talk about children. We always talk about bills. We always overlook sex. We don't talk about, these are things that we are not having conversations about in our marriages.
Inside the house.
Inside.
Wow.
Which honestly brings about stress.
But here's a question. Here's a question about that. And Neither one of us are married, so and I've been
I'm
married.
married to the game.
You married to the game.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
But anyway, how vulnerable a man's supposed to be?
Oh man, see, this is the next episode. By the way, we do the plug right quick. No, I'm talking about seriously at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock.
Real Spiel After Dark. See, we got 2 shows.
Oh, wow.
The episode 8, Mr. Transparent.
Mr. Transparent.
Yeah, we were talking about why men have a hard time being transparent, showing their emotion. You setting it up, though. I see what you're doing, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but how transparent?
Yeah.
How does a man or a woman, for that matter? Because we don't know how a woman feels because we're not women.
Right.
So how transparency and what causes transparency to be trusted
And honestly,
in the relationship?
if you have trust issues anyway, being transparent can be hard. But I'm gonna say it goes back to I'm going to say it goes back to child rearing, and this is why. I taught human behavior, and one of the things I kind of pose to my students, we're taught roles. We're taught roles as males. We're taught roles as females, right? So
and they are important, right?
They're important.
Okay.
Right.
Which that may be a whole nother episode because
That
roles
is
are
a
starting
whole
to look
episode.
different
Yeah, they
from
are.
day to day.
Yeah, they are.
So, but if we go back, and I'm just gonna stay in the basics of roles.
Right.
But as a little girl, you're gonna get a baby doll. You're gonna get a kitchen set.
Right.
You're gonna be taught to nurture that baby.
Right.
You're gonna be taught to care for that baby.
Right.
For a little boy, you're gonna get these toys. You're gonna go outside. You're gonna play.
Right.
You're not gonna cry because you're a little boy.
Right.
You're not gonna whine because you're a little boy.
Right.
You're not gonna do certain things because you're a little boy. You're gonna toughen up. You're gonna shake it off, and you're gonna go on back outside, right?
Right.
These two grow up. That mom is going to continue to be nurturing. She's going to continue to care for her children. She's going to care for her husband. She's going to really care for anyone that is kind of in her right.
Yeah.
And that little boy, well, I've been taught. So I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna come home because that's what I do.
That's a good man.
I don't do.
That's good.
So
that's what we talk.
the nurturing, I don't do that. That's not my role.
Man, I just had a conversation about this with somebody.
That creates a disconnect.
It does.
And even in those roles,
The color purple. I mean, I didn't mean to bring that up, but you know.
There was a plug for the movie.
But even in those roles,
Yeah.
it's not intentional. It's not done intentionally.
Right.
It's just that we have been taught this is what men do, this is what women do. And so we wonder why sometimes fathers are, disconnected. It's about what those roles are and what you have been taught as a child what those roles look like.
Right.
Now, if we go hand a little boy a baby, then we're like, you shouldn't do that. A little boy shouldn't have a baby. But I always wonder if I gave, and I don't have boys that I've had. I do have a bonus son.
Okay.
Right.
But if I gave this little boy this baby and taught this little boy how to care and nurture for this baby too, I wonder what that would look like as a young man and as a father.
Can I interject? Homosexuality.
You think so?
Yes.
Well, you said there were people outside would think of?
Yes.
They saw him.
Here's my reason for saying that. Now, what you were, as a mother, was trying to teach him how to nurture and how to show love. But the wolf on the outside sees something totally different.
Exactly.
Right.
And so what the wolf sees is an opportunity to pounce.
Right.
Because he's been taught this nurturing, and the wolf will try to show him, well, this is okay for us.
Right.
And it's not.
Right.
I think what the problem is in that, because he doesn't have to have a doll, but the father needs to not only be corrective, but he needs to also show him love. And I think he'll get the same thing that you're talking about, because you're talking about from a woman's perspective.
Right.
But we know as men, if we teach them from a woman's perspective, I can talk on this because I grew up in a house with 5 women, no other man. But I had uncles
Right.
that would come, and if they saw me sitting the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Come outside, man. I want to show you something.
Right, right.
And then bring me outside. Boom, hit me in the chest.
Oh yeah.
Boy,
We
boy,
we're
don't
not
sit like that.
suggesting it. We're not suggesting it.
No, we're not suggesting that.
Yeah,
But what I'm
yeah.
saying is that no, we're not suggesting that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that he needs a positive role model,
Right.
male role model
Mhm.
in his life, just like the girls need a positive female role model. So even if the parents are separated,
Mm-hmm.
one of the worst things that anybody could do is keep the other person out of the child's life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You might not get along, but that child gonna need both
Right.
The nurture. They need
to nurture. Because that nurturing will come from a man, but it's gonna look different.
Right.
You know. And the men have to go and not just say, man up,
Mm-hmm.
but also correct him, train him.
Mm-hmm.
And then affirmation, hey man, no matter what happened, I still love you.
Right. Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
you can come to me with anything. And I
Right.
think that's the disconnect. Because we allow the meta, the world, to change our perspective
Mm-hmm.
of what a real man looks like.
Oh yeah.
And a real man is a man that's nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
and knows how to show affection.
And knows how to show
so
affection.
yeah, even using the doll, yeah, you don't necessarily have to give a little boy a doll.
Right.
But again, just going back and nurturing and
Nurturing
the love that you show him,
Right.
Right.
you then in return know how to show that.
He knows how to show
Mhm.
love. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's in a home environment, what he sees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's going to go off of what he sees.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, growing up, you know, in two-parent homes, you know,
Mhm.
they didn't argue when the children were up. You know, they
Yeah,
raised
yeah.
the children both been asleep.
Right.
You know, and they had their discussions or whatever. You know,
Right,
and
right.
everything. And you know, I mean, even in television,
Mm-hmm.
Leave It to Beaver and him and
Yeah.
and all of them folks, we
Yeah.
saw a nurturing father.
Right,
You know,
right.
he was always corrective.
Uh-huh.
You know, Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace was into everything,
Yeah,
man.
man.
But his
Yeah.
daddy was always, you know,
Yeah.
he'll correct him,
Right.
but he'll sit down and talk to him.
Mhm.
You know, instead of always hollering at him. You know,
Right,
and everything.
right.
So I believe that you know, men have to, because I believe with leadership comes accountability and responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we can't just push it off and say that I'm a man, you
Yeah.
know, and I won't talk to him.
Right.
You know, I need to talk to him
Yeah. Yeah.
and find out what his fears are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then give him that nurturing and let him know, hey man, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
yeah. So
All right. That way it's
All right.
right there. That way it's
you got
there.
it, man.
Oh no,
Man, we almost.
Yeah, no,
Man, this
that's it,
hour
that's it.
has flown by.
Yeah,
This is the Real Spill podcast. This 2024, y'all.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the type we want to bring to you.
Mhm.
Hopefully, this has been informative
Yeah.
and you learned something.
Mhm.
I mean, we've been sitting here, and so she is the seed that is gonna blow us up into. Rises up out of the ground. I got my preacher on now, man. It's gonna rise up out of the ground. It's gonna have some flowers on it. They're gonna smell good, but it's gonna produce some fruit.
And
it's gonna be sweet.
And when she get her doctrine,
When she get a
I
doctor.
hope that you look back on this episode and be like, you know what they did to him, I'm gonna get it.
Hell, she on her way.
That's all we have.
We ain't gotta tell. She already know. She already on her. She already know.
You just put it on Facebook
I
like,
can
yeah,
see
y'all
that.
right, y'all
I
said
see
it.
that
Y'all said
dissertation
it.
right now
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front
that's
of
all
her.
we have.
What's your
That's all we have.
subject matter on your dissertation?
Mental health risk among youth athletes,
Mm.
specifically minority athletes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's needed.
So you can't help. You can't do nothing for them hockey players. Okay. Hockey.
Well, it's some
baseball.
black-
That was a little racist.
Because the
Yeah,
world,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
I like that because the world has, you know, it's the NBA a bust, it's the NFL a bust.
Yeah.
You know, and so and then they want to do all of these different things, like you
Yeah.
talk about the opioids and all of this different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
taking steroids and all these different things, so they can build themselves up because
Right.
it's NBA a bust.
Yeah.
And there is life. All of us ain't gonna make it to the
No.
NBA. And my pastor talked about this today, man, and I was so proud about it.
What
He
is
said there's a team down there in Houston.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
And he said that boy came out of Bessemer,
Yes, he did.
just Lanier High School.
In the playoffs too.
And he in the
First
playoffs,
year.
man. He's
Yeah.
standing on the sideline. He the coach.
Head coach. About
Man,
to be
he the
coach of the
head
year.
coach.
He gonna be coach of the year.
He the head coach.
Y'all heard it here first.
So I said that to say I don't care where you are.
Yeah.
we sitting in the Spill Cup studio.
Yes, sir.
And it ain't no telling where God gonna take this, or
That's
where
right.
He gonna take us,
That's right.
where He gonna take Dr. Melton,
Mhm.
where He gonna take them daughters she got over there, the
All
grandchildren and everything.
Yeah.
God finna blow you up.
Blow you. That's something I ain't never heard about saying it like that, folks.
And,
we receive it.
yeah.
we receive
And we're
it.
gonna use your pastor thing. It's gonna be big.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Well,
Pastor
the
Mike.
new thing, he said he getting away from that. He said this
yeah.
year, 2024,
Yeah.
we're gonna be strong.
Oh, good. So we're gonna be
we're
big
gonna be
and strong.
Well, if you want to go there, but this theme is strong. This
It's
year.
strong
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
huh?
you
So
want-
that's
yeah,
building
strong.
something.
Yeah.
Man, this has been the Real Spill Podcast.
Yeah.
Tally Man,
Your favorite Rand Cole Steel.
and our
Yeah.
first guest of 2024,
Yeah.
Dr.
Latoya
Toya Melton.
Yeah.
Man, we so happy. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Tell your friends about us. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button.
Mhm.
Tell somebody about us, man. Share us.
Yeah.
You know, and everything. Give us your criticism. Tell us what we need to do better.
Till they come on the show,
And they come on the show.
We just like church.
everybody,
You
you
just
got-
show up.
Yeah, you can just show up. Yeah,
just show
everybody
up, yeah.
welcome, man.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
episode 25. Check us out. Facebook Live, where we are now. But then you can go on YouTube
That is correct.
to the Real Spill Podcast 3 and look at all 25 episodes. We thank you for tuning in. We thank Dr. Melton for being with us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
This has been the Real Spill Podcast.
This is not a professional part. We ain't got no cameraman, so I gotta get up on this part. Yeah, so I'm gonna be this part.
See y'all. God bless you.